Welcome once again. Today we're doing quadratic equations and we're going to take you through the basics of quadratic equations. And once again we advise you that while you're watching this DVD, watch it about half an hour at a time. Make sure that we cover a section, we give you an exercise, do the exercise, and then take a little break after that. And secondly, I need to remind you also that this is suitable for grade 10 upwards. Alright, so let's move. Now, what is a quadratic equation? We need to be clear in our minds. Firstly, if you take an equation like this, now let's see what's a linear equation. An example of a linear equation is 2x plus 3 is equal to 13. That's an example of a linear equation. Now an example of a quadratic equation. An example of a quadratic equation will be x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Now that's an example of a quadratic equation. So why do we call it quadratic? Well, because there's a index 2 in it. Why do we call it linear? Because there's an index 1 and that 1 of course is understood. So as long as the unknowns have the highest power of 1, then it's a linear equation. As long as the powers have 2, sometimes even 3, you'll see an example later on, but generally if the power is 2, then it's quadratic equation. Now remember, for you to test or to classify them, there must be no fractions in it. So you can see clearly, this is a linear equation, this is a quadratic equation. So a quadratic equation will have an x squared in it. Right, now let's see how we solve quadratic equations. Suppose I said solve x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. So firstly you will see that this is a quadratic equation because it's got an x squared, and therefore you have to factorize. Now if you don't know your factorization, you have to go back, watch the DVD on factorization, do the exercises on factorization and come back. Now if I factorize this, then it is x plus 3 into x plus 2 is equal to 0. So that's your first step. Factorize the quadratic, which we did. Number 1, factorize. Then number 2, you must make each factor containing the unknown equal to 0. So there are 2 factors here. So you must make each factor equal to 0. So this factor here, x plus 2, I don't have to write the brackets down, is equal to 0. Or, sorry, this is x plus 3. Or this factor, x plus 2 is equal to 0. So we finished do the second step. Make, right. Then number 3, you solve. Now this is a simple linear equation now. The quadratic equation became 2 simple linear equations. Now using your knowledge of equations, you transpose this, you get minus 3. Transpose here, you get minus 2, plus 2. When you transpose it, it becomes minus 2. So, of course I can write the minus in the middle or I can write it on top. So that's how you solve a quadratic equation. Now very, very important. Very, very important. You see, this quadratic equation is what we call in standard form. The meaning of standard form is that it is set from highest power to lowest power. X squared, x to the 1 number. Once that equation is set like this, then it is in standard form. So remember, if you're doing quadratic equations, you will make sure that it is in standard form first, then you factorize, then make each factor containing the unknown equal to 0, and then solve. Let's do another example. X squared minus 9 is equal to 0. So, first thing, I check whether this is in standard form. Standard form means all the letters and the numbers are on the left hand side, firstly, and secondly, it is set x squared, in other words x to the 2, well there's no x to the 1 so I don't have to worry, then the number. In this one it was x squared, x to the 1, then number, fine. In this one it will be x squared and then the number. So this is in standard form. It is in standard form. So I can now factorize. So if I factorize this, now it's difference of 2 squares. That's why I'm telling you, you've got to know your factorization. So it's difference of 2 squares, you factorize it. Make each factor containing the unknown equal to 0. That means x plus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 is equal to 0. There's no need for me to write the brackets here. There's no need for me to write the brackets. And then you solve this. You're just transposing the 3. Plus 3 becomes minus 3. Now watch what's happening on this side. You've got minus 3. So when you transpose it, you get plus 3. So there's your two answers. So in quadratic equations, you can end up with two answers, and sometimes in some examples, you're going to end up with 3 answers. Alright, I think you got a feeling, and I'm just going to do a few more examples on quadratic equations. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this lesson 1, and when you're watching this DVD, make sure you watch till the end of lesson 1. I'll tell you when it is end of lesson 1. Alright, let's do another example for you. So that was example 1, and that was example 2. I'll do another example now. Alright, we have number 3 here, x squared is equal to 25. So when you look at this, it is not in standard form. So I have to bring it to standard form. So what do? I simply apply the laws of equation, and I want to bring everything to the left hand side. So the 25, I'll transpose it. It's onto this side. If I transpose plus 25, it'll become minus 25. Now this is in standard form. Now I can factorize. Difference of 2 squares. Now you must know your factorization. If you don't know your factorization, you rather stop straight away now, go back and revise your factorization. Now you make each factor equal to 0. Take the plus 5 across, it becomes minus 5. Take the minus 5 across, it becomes plus 5. Right? Let's do another example. Alright, here we have number 4. So firstly, when we look at it, it is not in standard form. Now you don't have to write this. I'm just writing it to make it clear to you. It's not in standard form, so I'm going to bring it to standard form. All I do is bring the 5x onto the left hand side, it becomes minus 5x. Bring the plus 6 to the left hand side, it becomes minus 6. So there we are, it is now in standard form. Everything is on the left hand side equal to 0, and secondly, x squared, x, then number. Well, it's x to the 1, but it's not necessary to write that x to the 1. So, check if it's in standard form. If it's not in standard form, bring it to standard form. It's now in standard form. Right, so once again I'll make it clear. Standard form means everything is on the left hand side equal to 0, and it is set x2, x1 number. Then factorize. So if you factorize this, it will be x minus 6 into x plus 1. Now I'm not going to show you the factorization here. You've got to know your factorization and you've got to be able to do it quickly so that you factorized it. Then you make each factor equal to 0. Alright, I feel a bit sorry for you, so I'll just show you. See this one? If you forgot, you write x and you write x. Then you got minus 6. Then you write minus 3 and 2, or 3 and minus 2 and minus 6 and 1 and 6 and minus 1. You see, you're trying to factorize that. Factorize a trinomial. Then you choose the one from there that solves your problem. So I've chosen x and x, and I've chosen minus 6 and 1. In other words, I've chosen that one and that. Then I get minus 6x, and then I get plus 1x, and then I add them up, I get minus 5x. So I got my minus 5x. Minus 1 times, minus 6 times 1 gives me the minus 6. X times x gives me the x squared. That's another way of testing. X times x, x squared. Minus 6 times 1, minus 6. So that's tested. And then the middle term is minus 5, the middle term is minus 5. So as usual, the top goes in one bracket, the bottom goes in another bracket. And then you solve this. If you transpose the 6, minus 6, if you take the other side, it will become plus 6. If you're doing this part here, it's plus 1. If you take it across, it becomes minus 1. So there's your two answers. So in this case, it was not in standard form. We brought it to standard form, factorize, make each factor equal to 0, solve. Right, let's do another example. Number 5. In number 5, we've got 9 is equal to x squared. That's number 5. 9 is equal to x squared. Now it's not in standard form. So, there's my 9. I bring the x squared on this side, it will become minus x squared is equal to 0. Now, if you like, you can reset this. You can actually do it like this, but if you want to reset it, you're going to tell what? Minus x squared plus 9 is equal to 0. And then you'll find it's hard to factorize it like this. So I better multiply by minus 1 right through. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply by minus. If I multiply by minus 1. So minus 1 times that will give me plus x squared. Minus 1 times that will give me minus 9. Minus 1 times 0 will give me 0. Now it's easy to factorize x minus 9. So it's x plus 3 into x minus 3 is equal to 0. So x plus, that's getting a little bit untidy. Alright, doesn't matter, I'll just squeeze it in here. X plus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 is equal to 0. X is equal to minus 3, x is equal to plus 3. Sorry about that, I just squeezed it in over there, but that's how we do number 5. Right, I'm going back to number 5 because number 5 can also be done in another way. Right? You realize that's not in standard form, and then you say, well, bring the x on the left hand side, so it becomes minus x squared is equal to 0. You see, you can actually factorize this just like this. So I'm going to do it. You can, it is possible because it's a difference of 2 squares. So if you factorize this, you'll get 3 minus x into 3 plus x is equal to 0. You see? 3 minus x in 3 plus x is equal to 0. Now you're going to make each factor equal to 0. Now you must watch. I'm going to take the 3 across. There's the equal to sign. The 3 is going to go across. So the 3 will become minus 3. I'm transposing the 3. What's left here? Minus x. Now it's not complete. Minus x is equal to minus 3. Well, you know from your previous knowledge that this is not solved yet. To solve this, I got two choices. I can either divide by minus 1 here, divide by minus 1 here. Or I can multiply by minus 1 here, multiply by minus 1. Two choices. I've decided to divide. Minus divided by minus gives me plus. Minus divided by minus gives me plus. On this side, you got 3 plus x is equal to 0. There's the x. If I take the 3 onto that side, it becomes minus 3 and nothing more to do. So, number 5 could have also been done like this, where I could factorize this straight away and continue, but you have to be careful here that minus x is equal to minus 3 had to be divided by minus 1 on both sides to make x positive. Alright, that's number 5. Alright, we look at number 6, x squared plus 8x is equal to 0. Well, if you look at this example carefully, is it in standard form? The answer is yes, because everything is on the left hand side and it is equal to 0. Everything is on the left hand side, it is equal to 0 and it is set x squared x to the 1. There is no number here. Well, that's fine. You can have a quadratic like this without a number here. Then in this case, if you wish to factorize, you have to remove common factor. In this one, you're removing common factor. So you've got to note that, right? You see, you're removing a common factor. So x squared divided by x will give you x, plus 8x divided by x will give you plus 8, and now it is factorized, and now you make each factor equal to 0. Therefore, x is equal to 0 or x plus 8 is equal to 0. Now this one is already solved. Only this part has to be solved. So x is equal to minus 8. Now let's do another example just like this. X squared is equal to 10x. So firstly, this is not in standard form. So let's bring it to standard form. X squared minus 10x is equal to 0. I brought that on the left. Now when I look at it here, I'm going to remove common factor. X into x minus 10 is equal to 0. And now each factor, x is equal to 0 or x minus 10 is equal to 0. This one is done, it's completed. Only here you have to continue. X is equal to 10. Minus 10, when it goes across, becomes plus 10. So that's number 6 and 7. Alright, we'll move on with one more example. Here we have number 7, minus 10 is equal to 3 minus x squared. Once again, it's not in standard form. So you have to bring it to standard form. So there's the minus 10. If I bring the minus, oh sorry, there's a 3x here. Minus 3x. See, that's plus 3x will become minus 3x. Then that also has to come here. So that will become plus x squared is equal to 0. So I brought the plus 3x, it became minus 3x. I brought the minus x squared, it became plus x squared is equal to 0. Now I've got everything on the left hand side, but it is not set nicely for me. So I better set it nicely. In other words, I must have x squared first. So there's it, plus x squared. Then I must have minus 3x in the middle. And then I must have minus 10 in the end here, equal to 0. So you set it neatly, set it correctly. X squared, x to the 1 number. And then you factorize x minus 5 into x plus 2. Now once again I'm reminding you, you've got to know your factorization. If you don't know, you'll have to go back and watch the DVD, practice and come back. Now make each factor equal to 0. X minus 5 is equal to 0 or x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now solve this one. x is equal to 5. Now solve that one. X is equal to minus 2. Right, so let's do the last one for the sake of examples, number 8. And in number 8 we got 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 is equal to 0. Right. It is a quadratic, it is in standard form, so you have to factorize it. So factorizing this one, you got to take it easy. So there's 2x squared. I'm going to demonstrate this one. So there's your 2x and x. Then that is minus 3. So it could be minus 3 and 1, or it could be 3 and minus 1. Now you're going to factorize it. So you're going to choose 2x and x, and you're choosing minus 3 and 1. You're choosing this one first. And when you try it, 2x times 1, 2x. X times minus 3 is minus 3x. You add them up and you're getting minus x, which is wrong because you don't want minus x, you want minus 5x. Then what you do, don't jump to the next example. Take the same one. You see, you had minus 3 on top and you had 1 in the bottom. Take the same one, put the minus 3 in the bottom, put the 1 on the top. So let me do it again. So there's it here done on this side. This one is just like that. Now what I'm doing, I'm taking the minus 3, I'm writing in the bottom. I'm taking the 1, I'm writing it on the top. Same choice, this choice here. But this time I wrote the minus 3 in the bottom, I wrote the 1 on the top. Now let's see what happens. X times 1 gives you 1x. 2x times minus 3 gives you minus 6x. Add it up. Minus 5x. Now let's see. The middle term is minus 5x? Yes. First term, 2x times x gives you x squared? Yes. Middle term is minus 5? Yes, that's correct. And 1 times minus 3 gives me minus 3? Yes. So you must test your factorization. So the top 2 goes in one bracket. So that's 2x plus 1. Bottom 2 goes in one bracket. That's x minus 3. And then of course, each bracket will now equal to 0. Now watch. 2x is equal to minus 1. The 1 went across. Now it's not finished. I've got to divide by 2. So when I divide by 2, divide by 2. I'm left with x is equal to minus half. So that's one answer. And on this side we had x minus 3 equal to 0. So x is equal to 3. That's the other answer. Alright, so those are the examples for lesson 1. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a little exercise to do. And you'll do that exercise. And all that will make lesson 1. So let me put an exercise on the board for you. Here we have exercise 1 on quadratic equation. Number 1, x squared plus 12x plus 20 is equal to 0. Number 2, x squared minus 5x is equal to 14. Number 3, x squared is equal to 36. Number 4, 25 is equal to x squared. Number 5, x squared plus 9x is equal to 0. Number 6, x squared minus 11x is equal to 0. Number 7, x squared is equal to 14x minus 33. And number 8, 2x squared minus 7x minus 4 is equal to 0. Alright, so what you must do now is stop the DVD, work these examples out, and then come back to me and I'll supply you with the solutions. Alright? Enjoy these examples. Come back. Here are the solutions to exercise 1 on quadratic equations. Firstly, this equation is in standard form, so we can straight away factorize. And when you factorize this, you get x plus 10 into x plus 2. If you test x times x, x squared, 10x plus 2x gives you 12x, 10 times 2, 20. So that's correct. And then each bracket will be made equal to 0. X is equal to minus 10, and in this side x is equal to minus 2. So that's the solution for number 1. Now let's have a look at number 2. Right. Alright, so there's number 2, and it's not in standard form, so I have to bring it to standard form first. X squared minus 5x plus 14, when it comes across, will become minus 14 is equal to 0. Now it is in standard form, and now I can factorize it. And if I factorize this, I will get x minus 7 into x plus 2. Right, x minus 7 into x plus 2. And then of course, each bracket will be equal to 0. And x is equal to 7. Minus 7 goes across, becomes plus 7. Plus 2 goes across, becomes minus 2. So those are your two answers there for number 1 and number 2. Alright, number 3, x squared is equal to 36. Not in standard form, bring it to standard form. X squared minus 36 is equal to 0. See, plus 36 comes here, it becomes minus 36. Now this is the difference of two squares. So it will be x plus 6 into x minus 6 is equal to 0. Now you must know your factorization. If you don't know, stop here, go back, watch the previous DVD and do your factorization. Right, I factorized it. Now each factor will be equal to 0. So finally x plus 6 will become x minus 6. X minus 6 is equal to 0. X is equal to 6. So that's the end of number 3. Let's do number 4. In number 4 you have 25 is equal to x squared. Once again, not in standard form. Bring to standard form. So 25 minus x squared is equal to 0. Now I can factorize this just like this, so I rather do that. It is much easier. I can see this is the difference of two squares, I'll factorize it. So it's 5 plus x into 5 minus x. 5 plus x into 5 minus x. Now 5 plus x will equal 0, or 5 minus x will equal 0. Solving this, take the 5 across, x is equal to minus 5. Now be careful with this example. You see, there's your minus x. If you take the 5 across, it becomes minus 5. You see, that's minus x, that minus belongs to the x, so it goes down there like that. 5 goes across, it becomes minus 5. Now it's not complete. I've got to divide by minus 1, divide by minus 1. Now minus divided by minus gives me plus. Minus divided by minus gives me plus. So there's my